Today, I'm going to talk about 5 ways to improve your metabolism and fight harmful excess body fat in ways that are much easier than doing intense intermittent fasting. And you're going to get results. The 5 ways are skipping breakfast, reducing your food serving size, sleeping better, ditching ultra processed foods, and cutting out the booze. I'm going to explain it all to you. So let's dive in. First, everyone's heard of fasting for weight loss and better health. And fasting is a very, very natural state. All right. Everyone does it every single evening when they're sleeping. When you're sleeping, you're not eating. When you're not eating, that is called fasting. Now, what's interesting is what happens in your body metabolically when you're actually fasting. All right. Basically, when you're fasting, your body shifts gears like you're a race car and switches into a gear where you're actually going from storing fat, which happens during the day when you're eating because you want to store energy into your fat cells. When you're fasting at night and sleeping, you shift gears so that you're actually burning down fat. All right. So when you're sleeping, you're actually burning fat. You're not exercising, you're not working out, you're actually burning fat. That's how you're hardwired to actually operate. All right. And during the fasting state, you're also resetting your gut microbiome. By improving your gut microbiome, you're actually decreasing inflammation, you're improving management of your blood lipids, your blood cholesterol, and you're making your body more sensitive to insulin, so your metabolism is actually improving. Now, you're also improving your immune system, so you're more able to defend against infection, and overall, you're actually improving metabolic health. So fasting is good, all right? However, people are actually talking about intense intermittent fasting, going to 16 hours of not eating and squeezing all your eating into 8 hours, or maybe even going more intensively than that. All right. You can go from intermittent fasting to prolonged fasting, and that's actually a practice as well. Difficult to do, deliberate, intense, timed fasting. And so here are 5 things you can do that don't require fasting for weight loss. All right. The first hack is this: skip breakfast or lunch a few times a week. Now, here's what actually happens. When you miss breakfast, all right, and maybe even lunch, that happens to me sometimes, what you're doing is you're taking your sleeping or fasting time and you're extending the time that your body is actually in this metabolic fat burning mode, all right? Skip breakfast, you blow right by that morning period, and now you kind of get all the way over to lunch, right? So think about it. Go to bed at 11, get up at 7 in the morning. That's 8 hours sleep. You should actually be getting 8 hours of sleep. Now skip breakfast, all right? So you're not eating breakfast right away. And now you're actually fasting longer, from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, maybe all the way up to noon. You've just extended your fast by maybe up to 5 extra hours, all right? So that's a simple way without actually having to think twice about it. It's an easy way of doing it just by skipping a meal. If you do that a few times a week, you are actually going to be able to get results because, frankly, you're not actually eating fewer calories, all right? So skipping a meal actually helps extend your natural fasting time when you're sleeping. And I do that frequently. If I get busy, I skip my breakfast. Sometimes I'll skip breakfast and lunch, but you can actually do that a few times a week. It'll put you in good metabolic shape, and you won't need to actually deliberately schedule your fasting. Tip number 2, don't pile food on your plate. All right. And this is actually the reason. Whether you're actually practicing deliberate intermittent fasting or just letting sleep be the way that you actually do it, the bottom line is that when it's time for you to eat, whether you eat breakfast or skip breakfast, by the time you get to lunch, let's say you're going to eat lunch, you're going to be hungry. All right. That's natural because your body needs energy, needs fuel. It's like your car running on the highway. You're doing long distance driving and you actually take a look around lunchtime. Your fuel gauge is pretty much getting towards empty. You're going to want to fill up. You want a whole full tank, right? So here's basically what you got to be careful about. When you actually finally eat after deciding to eat after the evening, don't fill up your whole plate, all right? And never go for seconds, all right? You don't want to overconsume your calories. So think about whatever you would normally take, remove a third of it, all right? And that's your starting point, and don't go back for seconds. Don't pile on your plate and then remove a third. All right, that's actually a little trick that I learned a long time ago so that you're not going to overeat. All right, Don't go back to get seconds. Can't emphasize that enough. Tip number 3, get a good night's rest. All right. If you get a good night's rest, you will actually, while you're naturally sleeping, you're tired, you're naturally going to sleep. You'll go into a deep slumber, you'll go into REM sleep. When you're in that deep sleep state, that's when your metabolism goes to work for you. You're going to sleep anyway. You're going to be tired. And actually, you should sleep if you want brain health, which we all do. Metabolic health is good. Brain health, absolutely critical. All right. And the reason is this. When you actually get good deep sleep, not only does your metabolism improve, not only is that what it takes to get your gut microbiome to actually reset itself, but deep sleep is when your brain detoxifies itself. Now, I know there's controversy over this term detoxify, so I'm using it only in quotes. What really happens is that you have a drainage system like the sewers of Paris. It's a big grate that is pretty much closed during the day when you're thinking and worrying and going through your usual mental gymnastics. At night, all right, a lot of toxins actually have accumulated. At night, your brain purges that by opening up the grates, the sewer grates, and lets the toxins drain out. This drainage system is called the glymphatic system. Glymph, all right, like it sounds like lymph, but the glymph, the GL part is actually standing for glial cells. That's actually the cells that the brain is actually made out of. Those are your neurons. Glymphatic is really the drainage system made out of neurons, kind of like the lymphatic system. It's natural brain detox. So when you get a good night's sleep, you're letting your brain actually open up those grates, drain and detox yourself. When you don't do it, by the way, what happens? Pull an all-nighter, all right, or get really fitful sleep. Next day, you're actually going to be brain foggy. That's because you haven't actually drained your lymphatics completely. By the way, recent research shows how it does this. Your nerves actually contract and push along that fluid, to cause drainage. Pretty cool. These are new discoveries about the human brain that we're still learning really, really fast about the lymphatics. So get good quality sleep, deep sleep, all right? If you exercise during the day, that will be helpful. And I will tell you, and don't eat at night. Don't eat after dinner, all right? So that way your insulin levels go down. And when you're sleeping, your metabolism shifts into fat burning mode. All you got to do is get a good night's sleep. You should be doing that anyway, all right? So that is the third hack. And very, very importantly, good sleep helps your microbiome become healthy. Good sleep, good gut health. Good gut health, good brain health, all right? You actually want to have all of that done. Now, something about the gut health. You really want to make sure you've got good gut health as well. People say, well, how do I know if my gut microbiome is actually healthy? Well, these days you can actually order a home microbiome test. And the way it works is that you go to a place, they'll send you an order, you got to register for it. It's a tube with a swab and a collection system. You collect a little bit of poop, swab it through, put it into the vial, screw it up, stick it in a mail pouch, send it off, all right? It'll take a couple of weeks and you'll get a result online that tells you what your microbiome is like. Now, it's kind of difficult for most people to interpret the gut microbiome. Most of these companies, the best ones, actually have some explanation for you. But I want to kind of give you a little bit of an insider's tip look on how to actually interpret it. Best thing for you to do is actually to find a doctor, an integrative doctor, a gastroenterologist who knows what they're doing, or an functional internist who knows how to actually maneuver and navigate the gut microbiome. Don't do it yourself, all right? You really need help thinking through and interpreting this. So here's a couple of ways that I look at it to share with you, though. When you look at the results, you want to see, is your gut microbiome, does it have a high diversity? Diversity means differences, right? It's just like any population or community. You've got a lot of diversity. You've got people from different ethnicities and different genders and different backgrounds, different sizes and shapes. That's what you want in your gut microbiome. The more diverse your gut microbiome is, the healthier your gut microbiome is. Just like every community that is very diverse tends to be a little bit healthier, richer, and that's, in terms of its makeup, and that's what you want. Diversity, a high gut diversity, all right? And then you actually want to make sure you don't have pathogenic organisms. What does all that mean? Pathogenic, disease-causing, organisms, bacteria. You want to look at the list of bacteria that are found in your gut microbiome test and make sure that there aren't any pathogens, bad actors, bacteria that would cause problems. Now, for most people doing a gut microbiome test at home, you're not going to recognize what a pathogenic organism is. And that's why you actually need to get a good, reliable gut microbiome test that actually has some sort of explanation of any bad organisms found. And then you need to have a doctor you can work with that can help you take that data, interpret it in terms of your own situation, and then come up with some recommendations in order to be able to counter or get rid of those pathogenic organisms or disease-causing bacteria. That's actually really important. Getting good sleep is going to improve your gut microbiome. And once you actually figure out how to use a home gut microbiome test, you can play around with things. You can actually test yourself every couple of weeks or every month to kind of see if your gut microbiome is getting better as you are actually improving your sleep, as you are improving your dietary intake, as you are skipping some meals and getting your metabolism into better shape. Your gut microbiome should also be improving at the same time. All right, that's really important. Now, here's tip number 4. Tip number 4 is stop eating ultra-processed foods. I know you've probably heard this a million times from a million people. Ultra-processed foods, the stuff you find in the middle aisle of the grocery store, it's in a box, it's in a bag, it's in a can, it's in a jar, it's made by a factory, and it's got a lot of stuff in it. When you look at the ingredient label, it is actually taking a lot of ingredients and putting it into a factory where a machine will create a food that doesn't naturally exist in nature, all right? And changes the nature, the construction, and the properties of the food. And ultra-processed foods have artificial preservatives, and they've got stabilizers, and they've got emulsifiers, thickeners, and they also have anti-caking properties. And they actually often have artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, looks nicer, smells nicer, tastes nicer. And those are the things that you actually don't want to actually have because, for example, emulsifiers, thickeners have now been shown to damage your gut microbiome. That's not what you want to do, all right, if you want to actually have a healthy metabolism and lose body fat and do it without doing intermittent fasting. You want to stay away from those ultra-processed foods because every time you take one of those snacks, all right, or pop a can open, you'll see any food that you think is ultra-processed probably is ultra-processed. And if you take a look at the ingredient label, it says it all. You got a lot of different ingredients. You don't recognize what most of them are for, and you probably can't pronounce them either. Ultra-processed foods. The emulsifiers can damage your gut microbiome. The preservatives as well. Maybe there's some artificial sweeteners in there. We now know that xylitol, for example, aspartame, sucralose, they actually can damage. Research has shown that they can actually damage the healthy gut microbiome. Not what you want to do if you're actually trying to lose weight in a naturalistic way without having to go on to an intense scheduled intermittent fasting. So this is all about what are some simple things you can do, right? What do we talk about first? We talked first about skipping a lunch or breakfast or lunch, super easy. Number 2, we said, don't pile up your plate and don't take seconds. Number 3, we said, hey, get a good night's sleep because it's really good for you. And maybe measure your gut microbiome. The 4th thing, don't eat ultra-processed foods. Look, you can do that, all right? Just takes a little bit of thought and a little bit of restraint. By removing those ultra-processed foods, you're taking away the pressure on your gut microbiome and removing chemicals that you might otherwise consume from your life, all right? That's actually really, really important in terms of overall health. And when you stay away from ultra-processed foods, your metabolism improves. You've got better insulin sensitivity, your blood cholesterol improves, your glucose sensitivity improves. And so people say, well, what about sweeteners? Should I avoid all sugar? Should I avoid all fruits? Actually, fruits are okay because fruits have dietary fiber and a lot of polyphenols that are good for your gut microbiome, which net actually helps you lose weight. All right, fruits are actually beneficial if you don't overconsume. Remember, I told you step number 2 is don't overconsume anything. All right, same thing goes with fruit. Check this out. I've got a free guide on my favorite breakfast foods to eat for longevity. From what's in my mug to what I look for when I buy these staples at the grocery store. It's all right here. All you have to do is click on the link and enjoy. Now, if you really want to go for a non-nutritive sweetener, people always say, well, Dr. Lee, what about stevia? What about monk fruit? Those are okay. So far, we haven't found any research to suggest otherwise. So stevia is fine. But here's the tricky thing. When you buy stevia, you want to pick up the box and look on the side, look at the label. I always tell people, look at that label and check to make sure that the manufacturer of this product didn't add other things to the stevia in order to be able to use less stevia, but still get the same sweetness or modify it in any other way. A lot of people, stevia is expensive. So what people do is they actually cut it. They use less stevia and then they add other artificial sweeteners. That is not what you want to do. So always check the label. Pure stevia, that's fine. All right. Monk fruit, same deal. All right. My last tip for you is to avoid alcohol. Now, I want to give you my position on alcohol. I'm not against alcohol. My position is that alcohol is part of human society. Ever since we've grown grains and fermented them, drinking some sort of alcoholic beverage has been very much part of our humanity. But look, what we're talking about in this video is that you want to lose weight without having to do anything crazy, without having to do a severe scheduled intermittent fasting practice. It's just too much for you. So what are some other easy peasy things you can do? Cut down or cut out the booze. I suggest you cut it out. You don't want those extra carbs. Alcohol has this funny thing. It's a lot of carbs, all right? And it alters your brain, obviously. It makes you more likely to overeat, more likely to make choices that aren't so good for you. And by the way, alcohol in your system, all right, tends to interfere with good quality sleep. What did we say earlier? Get some good sleep, drain your brain, get the detoxify, all these other things that you want to sort of do with good quality sleep, reboot your gut microbiome. Look, if you've got booze in your system, alcohol, ethanol, all right, I don't care if it's red wine. Red wine, the red part is actually the beneficial polyphenol part of wine. The alcohol part isn't beneficial for you at all. So again, I don't have a categorical problem with alcohol. I think it's part of society, human society, our culture. We drink around important events, around holidays, funerals, weddings. I think every now and then it's fine, but if you want to lose weight, cut down or cut out the alcohol. Now, here's another aspect that you need to know about is that alcohol is hard on the liver because your liver has to churn in order to be able to metabolize the alcohol, all right, break down that alcohol. And so if you are a regular drinker, not only are you adding more calories into yourself, not only are you disturbing your sleep, but you're also putting a huge strain, a wear and tear on your liver. Now, your liver decreases the amount of alcohol by metabolizing it. So if your liver's not working well, you got to have a higher levels of alcohol in your body. And alcohol is toxic to pretty much every organ it actually touches. When you compromise your liver, you can have alcoholic hepatitis. That's where, heavy drinkers like pretty much trash their liver. Now you can't detoxify your body. Now the toxins build up everywhere, all right? And the alcohol also compromises your brain, so you're not sleeping well. Now you're in brain fog. It compromises your judgment, and now you tend to overeat. There's a lot of issues in terms of what can happen to your metabolism. It throws it out of whack. So, simple thing you can do is cut down and cut off the alcohol. So, let's go back to the beginning here. What I said is that there are some really simple steps you can do if you want to lose weight, all right, but you don't want to actually have to do scheduled, severe, intermittent fasting. Just doesn't fit your lifestyle. So what I talked about with you in this video is a very set of easy practices. Are you ready? Let's review them. Number one, all right, skip breakfast or lunch or both a few times a week, all right? Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, a few times, that's actually going to be helpful. Number two, don't pile food on your plate. You should never look at a mountain, all right? And take a third off of what you would normally take based on your own habits. So you're going to be taking less and eating less calories, that is, all right? And by the way, never go back for seconds. And tip number three is get that good night's sleep. That's what actually your gut microbiome actually needs, and that's what your brain needs as well. All right. Tip number 4, you want to stop eating ultra processed foods that can damage your gut microbiome, throw off your metabolism. Listen, if you're not going to fast, do some severe intermittent fasting. You want every bit of your body naturally to be working in your favor, and that's what we're talking about here. And the 5th one, avoid alcohol. All right, you can do it for sure. All right, and that will actually unload the calories from you, allow your brain and your liver to actually heal up and do their thing. All right, which is detox and help you perform better. Brain for good decisions, liver for metabolism and lipid control, all the other things that your liver does. Very, very important, detox. And that's it. So, totally get it. Hope you learned something from this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Hi there. If you enjoyed watching this video, I know you'll love the next one. Stay here and check it out, and I'll see you there.